Greetings, Gullwing fans. We are here in lovely Lewisburg, West Virginia, and this is a legendary Gullwing rider. This is Bruce Wood, and he's now 78 years old, and he's got a story to tell about his marvelous Honda Valkyrie, his 1999. And why don't you tell us a little bit about your beloved bike, Ollie?
Okay. Well, it started in the 90s, 96, 97. I had a 96, my third Gullwing, a 96 Gullwing SE, and I decided I needed a second bike. I wanted a cruiser.
Mm-hmm.
So I happened to be in a Honda dealership looking at bikes with a friend of mine, and he casually mentioned, "You know anything about those Valkyries?" I said, "No, but they're kind of interesting looking." He said, "My advice, don't ride one if you're not willing to buy it." Well, I did, and I did. And that was, I bought it. I got the best deal over the phone from Schroeder's Honda in Hendersonville, North Carolina. I was living in Ocala, Florida at the time. So I called Terry Schroeder up, and we made a deal over the phone, and I told him, "You give me the number that needs to be on the cashier's check and I'll come get it." So he gave me a number. I got a cashier's check, flew up to Asheville, took a shuttle down to Hendersonville.
You want to tell us how much you paid for it?
Yeah, it was, by the time I got it out the door with tax and air in the tires and yada yada and a couple of extras, I ended up with 14,000, a little over 14,000 in it. And I rode it from Hendersonville to Ocala, Florida. That was our honeymoon. But as soon as I laid eyes on her and saw her in the showroom, first thought that popped in my mind was, this could really be the beginning of something big.
And it has become something very big.
Oh, it was life changing, and I had no way of knowing how big it would be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So anyway, that's when we had our union, and our honeymoon was the ride from Hendersonville down to Ocala, and by then I already knew I found my mate. So I got back to Ocala and told my wife, you know, I really like this bike, but I'd like to take it on a really long trip and do kind of a shakedown. I was already retired at the time.
Right.
And so I loaded her up and rode her out to Arizona, and spent a couple of weeks on the road, and really fell head over heels in love. And over the next the next couple of years, I rode her many miles, and I rode the Gullwing about 1,500 miles.
Mm-hmm.
So I sold the Gullwing to a friend of mine and just went exclusively with the Valkyrie. And I rode it and took lots and lots of trips. And I was sitting on a bar stool in British Columbia one time, minding my own business, and a local started talking with me, and "Where you from?" "Florida." "How'd you get here?" "Motorcycle." "You rode all the way here?" "Oh yeah, I ride all over North America." "Well, obviously you're not married." "Well, yeah, I am married." He said, "Your wife lets you do that?" I said, "She has her thing and I have mine." I said, "While I'm sitting here talking to you, she's on a riverboat cruise on the Danube River in Europe with some friends of hers." And you know, we give each other maximum range and freedom. Well, that went on for a couple of years, but not very many, because what had happened was we had grown to a point where we were living separate lives together.
Mm-hmm.
There was no acrimony, bitterness, or even loss of affection between us, but it just got to the point where for us to stay together, each of us would have to do something we didn't really want to do half the rest of our life. But when we did what we wanted to do, we'd have to do it with someone who didn't really want to be there. And we both decided that we didn't know how much time we had left, but decided that wasn't a good way to spend our life. So we gave each other the gift of freedom and had a very agreeable, harmonious separation.
Right.
And on May the 5th of 2004, we returned from the courthouse when the divorce was final. I loaded up Allie. That's an acronym for absolutely loving it. That's my baby's name. I loaded her up, and the next morning at first light, I rode off, waved goodbye to my wife as I exited the driveway onto the paved road, and hit the road.
Yep.
And I didn't have a plan. I didn't have a direction. I didn't have a destination. I didn't have anything. It was just us and an endless road trip of whatever happened.
You bought that bike on, you said January the 7th, 1999, and you've been in how many states and how many provinces?
Every state but Hawaii, and every province and territory of Canada, except the newest province or newest territory of Canada, Inuvik or something like that.
Okay.
And there are no paved roads to it, or I would have gone there.
Right. So you said you've been through how many drive shafts and alternators on that Valkyrie?
Well, I didn't keep. I don't have a good count to offer you, but at least a half a dozen.
Okay, on each, right.
The engine and transmission appear to be bulletproof, but the Achilles heel is the drivetrain, from the universal joint to the drive shaft to the pinion cup to the rear end. Those are the those are the points where she's had her failures, and we've had to have
Right.
replaced. Well, along with several alternators and
Right.
stuff like that. But through it all, since then through today, I think this must be about June the 10th or 11th.
Yes.
We have 795,000 miles together.
Yep.
Except
That's
for
amazing.
a brief interlude. There's a stretch of 1,500 or so miles that I didn't put on the bike because I happened to be touring the Icefields Parkway in Alberta, Canada in 2013 with a friend of mine. He wanted to see it, so I wanted to show it off. That's what I say, by the way. I live on the bike. It's a tiny little home, but you won't believe the backyard.
Yep.
So anyway, I was showing off that area of the backyard to my friend, and on the way back down the parkway, the pinion cup and drive shaft failed. Of course, we didn't know what it was, so we coasted into a restaurant, called a tow truck, and they transported us to Calgary, Alberta, and we got a motel rooms because that day was another of the many Canadian holidays, and the dealer wasn't open. So next morning we're sitting out on the parking lot by our bikes, looking them over and talking about stuff, trying to speculate what the problem might be with mine. And a really nice local guy came out of a restaurant and walked over, and turns out he had just bought a Valkyrie of his own and wanted to talk about Valkyries, so we did. Well, he got us hooked up with the dealer a little later on, and they took the bike in, gave it a cursory exam. They didn't put it on a bench or disassemble anything. They said it could be anything from the transmission to something in the drivetrain, but they were booked solid with work and couldn't get to us for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And once they diagnosed it, if they could diagnose it, then parts would have to be ordered. And because supply chain issues are different in Canada than in the U.S., it's not uncommon to have parts back ordered, which can further delay you. Well, my friend needed to get back to Alabama. I was living there then, and that's another story.
Right.
But anyway, I decided to, this local guy that we'd met that morning offered to buy the bike for parts. Just let him know what the dealer offered for a trade-in. So I called him and told him the number they had given me, what I'd like to get, and he agreed to it. And I bought a VTX 1800 in Calgary and rode it back to Wetumpka, Alabama. And by the time I got home, Terry Nickel, the guy in Alberta, had decided he could fix it. He had become aware through conversation and all how attached Allie and I were.
Right.
So he contacted me and offered to fix it and bring it to me and give it back if I'd buy him a plane ticket home.
Wow. Now, what year was this, and how many miles are on it then?
That was in 13, and it had about I don't know, maybe 440,000 right in there. And so that became his winter project. And early the next summer, at the annual Valkyrie gathering. We call it Inzane.
That's where we're at right now.
Yeah, that was
in Lewisburg.
That was in 2014 in Asheville, North Carolina. He rode Allie from Calgary to Asheville, and I rode the VTX from Wetumpka, Alabama to Asheville, and we met there. They had a little ceremony for us at the VRCZ.
That's hilarious.
And
reunited.
Reunited.
It's a love story.
We exchanged keys so he could ride the VTX back to my house and the airport. But by the time we got to my house, this was the first truly major road trip Terry had ever done. And you could just look at his face and see that he was having the time of his life. So I said, Terry, a deal's the deal. I'll buy you a first-class plane ticket home. Or if you'd rather ride the VTX back, you can, and I'll figure out how to get it back down here.
Sure.
Well, he took me up on it. So he had an extended road trip back to Calgary.
Nice.
And then two other friends of mine came up with an idea. We would ride our Valkyries to Calgary, and a third friend, would fly from Nashville to Calgary, and he would ride the VTX back. And that way, the three of us got to do a road trip, and we got to do it on our own Valks and all that.
Very cool. And what kind of oil do you use to keep it lasting almost 800,000 miles?
Yeah, primarily I use Rotella T6 1540.
Okay.
It's a Shell product.
Okay.
And a lot of my friends use that, and I trust their judgment. They've had good luck with it, so I use it, and I've had good luck with it.
Mm-hmm.
I have used other types of oil, primarily Mobil 1, also Pennzoil and Amsoil.
Okay.
I like that Rotella. It's not outrageously pricey, and you can get it at any auto parts store, Walmart, something like that. And,
all right.
So, and I carry a socket wrench and a filter wrench and a funnel with me all the time. So whenever I need an oil change, I just swing by a grocery store and buy an aluminum basting pan to catch the old oil.
And you change it about every 5,000?
Every 5,000.
Okay.
And
very good. Okay. All right. That's a remarkable story, and you're probably planning on keeping this bike as long as you possibly can. And before we wrap this up, where are you going next?
When I leave here Friday, I'm going back to Johnson City to my friend's house to be reunited with our girl. I call her our girl after the Calgary incident. So many people contributed money and parts and all that. Terry says, I think I made out on that deal, but he really made out on that deal. Well, maybe he did, maybe he did. I don't know. I don't care. I got my bike back, and he feels good about the deal. And but anyway, yeah, I'm going to be heading for Calgary, back to Terry's house, and my two friends that had ridden with me before are going to rendezvous with us, and a fourth person, Janice McVeigh, her handle is Sweet Cheeks. She and I are going to meet up in Wyoming, and then ride to Calgary.
Okay.
But anyway, the four of us then will leave Calgary and head for Alaska.
Wow. That's amazing. So I just wanted to mention that the only reason we don't include Bruce's Valkyrie in this video is because he was kind enough to ride his friend Charlie up here to Lewisburg, and Charlie doesn't ride anymore, so that's why we don't have Allie in the video. But I wanted to thank everybody for watching, and Bruce is one phenomenal individual. Hopefully if you see him on the road to Alaska this summer, stop and say hi. He's got a black 1999 Valkyrie, so
black and silver.
Yeah, black and silver. All right. Well, thanks again, Bruce. Appreciate your time. It's been a pleasure talking to you. All right. Take care.